The Walking Dead. A review of the first season and at least some of the second season. So this is part of what I'm calling my television addiction series. I'll link to a video in the description down below in which I describe what this video series is and what I'm trying to do. But basically, this is me just running through all the TV shows that I watched several years ago when I was living in Cambodia from the years 2011 to 2012 and was watching way too many DVDs at that time. And now I come to The Walking Dead, a show that I did not have the patience to continue past the second season. In fact, I didn't really even have the patience to finish the second season. I stopped halfway through the second season and haven't been back since then. So as you can probably tell, this is going to be a bit of a negative review. But hopefully fans of the series won't take offense to this, because some of my best friends are fans of the series. And in fact, while I was watching the series and shortly after I gave up on it, I had a good back and forth with my friends and coworkers at the office. We would be, by the water cooler, and we'd be kind of debating whether or not the show had any worth. And I hope maybe to bring that atmosphere of friendly debate into this video, but yeah, I wasn't wild about the show. Let me back up maybe and talk about zombie movies in general. I don't remember zombie movies being on a lot when I was young. I mean, everybody knew what zombies were. That they were being parodied in pop culture all the time and stuff like that. But I don't really remember a lot of people actually watching zombie movies. And, well, I don't know. Let me know what you think or what your experience is. But I believe during the 80s and 90s, zombie movies were not in vogue. And then they came back into vogue in the 2000s. Now, the first zombie movie that I ever saw was George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which I saw, I think it was on Halloween one night, and it was on cable, I forget which channel. I was flicking channels and I saw the beginning of it and was immediately grabbed by it. Sorry. I don't want to review that movie here. Maybe someday I'll do another video where I review all the things that are appealing about that movie. For the present, all I want to say is that I really loved Dawn of the Dead. And then a couple of years later, I was able to track down Night of the Living Dead, the original 1968 one, on VHS, and really loved that movie equally as well. Both Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead are among my favorite movies of all time, and because I really love those movies, I considered myself a fan of the zombie genre. I will perhaps maybe at some point in the distant future try and give a good review of those movies, maybe rewatch them some night, and then make a YouTube video talking about all the things that are great about those movies. But that's not this video. For this video, I'm just going to talk about zombie stuff in general. So, I've caught some other zombie movies since then. I saw Land of the Dead, the 2005 George Romero movie, which I didn't like nearly as much, but it was okay. I saw the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which, when did that come out? 2004 or something, or 2006? I don't remember clearly. And that was good. That was all right. I saw 28 Days Later, which was pretty good. Of course, Shaun of the Dead is an all-time classic. Zombieland I have reviewed on this very YouTube channel. I wasn't a huge fan of Zombieland, but it was okay. And, it was a comedy, of course. It wasn't a real zombie movie. But yeah, The Walking Dead. I found myself getting bored by The Walking Dead. And I was bored a little bit even in the first season. And at first I really couldn't figure out why, because Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead had been such fantastic movies, and I was expecting that experience to carry through onto The Walking Dead. That plus, I had a lot of coworkers and friends who had been recommending this movie to me for weeks or months recommending this TV show to me, The Walking Dead, for weeks or months, or I don't remember, before I finally got around to watching it. So I went in with expectations that, everybody loves this and it's going to be really good. And yeah, just found myself getting bored. After thinking about it for a while, I think a big part of the problem is zombies as antagonists really aren't that interesting. Now they're perfectly fine for a 2-hour movie. So like Night of the Living Dead, what is that? 2 hours, 90 minutes? I don't remember offhand. But whatever the length is, it works just fine. Just as you never really have a chance to get bored by the zombies. They're just this creepy horde that's threatening to come in and take over everything. And Dawn of the Dead, of course, is a little bit of a longer movie. It has a stretch in the middle, which is a bit slower, but it's about the right length as well. But when you start talking about 20 hours of watching zombie stuff, which is what you're talking about when you've got a season of a TV show or a couple seasons of a TV show, then at that point I think my interest in zombies is starting to wear off. It's fine for a 2-hour movie, but I'm not that interested in zombies. I've decided. I don't. There's no motivation to get into. There's no layering. Nothing like that. In addition, I think I've decided, with the benefit of hindsight, that maybe I was never really that much of a zombie fan per se. I just thought I was, because the Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead were such brilliant movies that it made me think I was a zombie fan. But I really wasn't a zombie fan. I was a George Romero fan. Or maybe more specifically, I was just a fan of those two movies. Like, those two movies were absolutely brilliant. They had such a creepy atmosphere. They were just really good movies. And that made me think I was a fan of zombies, but and the actual concept of zombies itself is actually not that interesting to me. Now, I mentioned this to my friends in the office, and they said, "Oh, you idiot. Everybody knows that a zombie movie is never about the zombies themselves. The zombie movie is about the humans arguing amongst themselves while the zombies are kind of outside the gates threatening to take over." And that's, I'll grant that. Night of the Living Dead, of course, was famous for all of the arguing that the humans were doing in the house. Dawn of the Dead, not arguing so much, but the dynamics of those 4 people trapped in the mall was the point of the movie, not so much the zombies outside. And again, I think George Romero did those really well in those 2 movies. And to be fair, The Walking Dead, if you look at it on paper, they're setting up conflict. There is argument among the humans in both Season 1 and Season 2. And again, I never really finished Season 2. But I'm given to understand that one of the main protagonists ends up becoming an antagonist by the end of Season 2. So there's like a conflict within the human group there. But I don't know. Those characters never really grabbed me in The Walking Dead, and I never really found their arguments all that interesting. That's subjective, I know, and I'm not really doing a good job of defending it here. I'm just stating it, but that was my impression. And then season 2, where they're just on that farm and nothing is happening, or nothing seems to be happening for several episodes running, that's where I just gave up. And I'm given to understand that even among fans of the series, that middle part of season 2 where they're just on the farm is considered a low point. But yeah, I don't know. I never got to the point where I actively hated the series. I never thought, I never got that emotional about it or had passionate hatred towards it. I just got bored and was distracted by other things. And, in this day and age, there's plenty of other things to be distracted by. If a TV series just isn't really grabbing you, there's so many other TV series that are available to watch or binge these days. And in Cambodia, I had access to all these DVDs, and it just wasn't grabbing me. Now, it's come out since, with some of the behind-the-scenes squabbling of The Walking Dead, that the reason that they were stuck on that farm was because the producers at AMC wanted to save money. So they were told that they had their budget slashed for the second season, even though the first season had been really big ratings hit for them. I guess somebody over there, one of the bean counters or something, thought, okay, well, if we can cut the budget, then we can increase our profit margin even more, even though there was nothing wrong with their profit margin the first time. So they made the decision to try and wring even more money out of it by shooting it on a smaller budget, which is why they had to stay on that farm the whole time, which is why there's this whole chunk of season 2 where they're just stuck on this farm and it gets really boring. And I didn't actually know that at the time I was watching it. I think that came out a couple years later. And by all means, don't take my word for it. Look this up yourself about the squabbling that went on behind season 2. It's all over the internet. You should be able to find it easily. But when I did find out about that, I thought to myself, it amazes me that this show has any fans left. Because why would you, after you know this, after you know that they deliberately cut the budget and that's why the whole season 2 nothing was going on and that they were just trying to wring as much money out of it as possible, but why would you have any sense of loyalty to this TV show? And again, maybe I could understand this if it was back in the 1980s when there was like nothing on to watch on TV, all those stupid sitcoms or those dumb dramas. Certainly if you were living in the 1980s, The Walking Dead would have been the best thing ever. But nowadays, we are living in the golden age of television content or, serialized TV programs. There's just so much interesting stuff out there to watch. Too much interesting stuff out there to watch. You spend your whole life in front of the TV. And I don't understand why people would continue on with The Walking Dead. Season 2 was a long time ago now. But it's funny, I've not continued watching the show, but being someone who is a bit of a geek and who follows some of those pop culture websites, like the AV Club and Uproxx and IO9 Gizmodo, and stuff like that, I frequently will see reviews of The Walking Dead, and it sounds to me like this show, even though it's still on the air, has hit a number of real low points, and the fans just seem to keep forgiving it, and the writers seem a bit desperate at times about what to do about it. This kind of loyalty, well, I don't know. I was going to say I don't understand it, but maybe I do understand it. I've had shows that I've liked in the past that I've stuck with out of a sense of loyalty, even though when they went through bad stretches. I guess I'm thinking of Star Trek in particular, of which I was a devoted fan at one point in my life. But Star Trek is this huge fandom that you get indoctrinated into. The Walking Dead, Why is there a big cult following behind The Walking Dead? It's just a zombie show. The other thing, and this is another thing that caused a lot of debate in my office, is I really had a hard time buying into this whole world of The Walking Dead. The idea that there's a zombie apocalypse and humans are completely overwhelmed by all these zombies and they're all on the run and civilization has been completely overrun. And I know that's the plot of every other zombie movie ever. But most other zombie movies are only 90 minutes or 2 hours long. So you don't have too much time to think about all the logistics of it. And for that matter, and spoilers, I guess, spoilers for Night of the Living Dead. In Night of the Living Dead, you get the impression that the zombie apocalypse happened suddenly. All of these zombies came out of their graves for whatever reason, completely overran the small town during the night. But then in the morning, order was restored. And then in the morning, the sheriff and his posse are going out and shooting the zombies. And it was just a matter of living through the night in the Night of the Living Dead. It was not a matter of like living through months and years of a zombie apocalypse. Now, Dawn of the Dead, of course, takes place over a much longer time frame. And I know there's that whole question about, do Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead exist in the same universe? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I think I find more realistic the Night of the Living Dead scenario. And Dawn of the Dead I'm willing to forgive because it's only a 2-hour movie. But The Walking Dead, when I'm watching all these hours of The Walking Dead, and in one whole season and half a season, and I've got a lot more time to think about it, and I think to myself, okay, I understand maybe the zombies take the humans off guard initially, but then once the humans reorganize themselves and get back together, then surely they could just take out these zombies so easily. Right? And it's not, I mean, I know in some movies, some more modern zombie movies, the zombies can move quickly, but they weren't really like that in The Walking Dead, were they? They were the classic slow-moving zombies. And again, this was another debate I got into with my friends at work. They were saying, no, you don't understand that the huge numbers of the zombies, they completely overwhelm the military. And I said, I'm not sure that the huge numbers makes a difference. Because you think about a well-organized military. You think of the Roman legions going into Gaul, or you think about the British going into China during the Opium Wars, or you think about the British going into India, or you think about all these historical examples where sheer force of numbers does not always overwhelm a well-organized military machine. And I don't think that a zombie apocalypse, especially the kind of zombies as depicted in The Walking Dead, the kind of stereotypical slow-moving zombies, would overwhelm the U.S. military. And even if they did, I think human beings could reorganize themselves fairly quickly and just eliminate all the zombies. I mean, much like we would eliminate any other kind of dangerous animal walking through the woods. So, and again, this is something I'm willing to forgive for a 2-hour movie. 28 Days Later, fine, I didn't have a problem with it. Dawn of the Dead, I didn't have a problem with it. 2 hours, I'm not going to overthink it. But once I'm watching hours and hours and hours of it, and you're trying to do all this world building, then I started having problems with the premise of it, that the zombies would be able to overwhelm human civilization like that. Yeah, so again, apologies to anybody out there who's a fan of the show. I welcome debate on this. Let me know in the comments why I'm wrong. Be polite if possible, but yeah, we can get a back and forth going on it or something like that. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't hate it. I it didn't grab me, and I got distracted by other things, and I stopped watching it. So yeah, there's that.